Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. A little bit sick, Nate Weitzer, going to be getting on that lozenge that he's got there to make sure he can get some good picks out to you guys without too much phlegm in the throat. I'll also be maybe commandeering some of the talking here for you, but I think we're in agreement in a lot of these picks. So we'll continue to roll along. We're looking at Monday's pretty big slate here for everybody after the weekend of games that we saw on the season now after a really solid Friday, Nate. We are 22-16. We are up 6.85 units picking games since last Tuesday. Really a real bad Tuesday, Wednesday last week, and since then been riding high. On Friday we went 5-1 in the best bets. We went 4-2 in the play of props. A nice 9-3 on the day. Made a lot of units there. So we'll look to stick around in the positive here with you guys and continue feeling good about this early NBA season. Do follow along, like and subscribe to that page. You can continue to check out each and every one of these videos we're bringing you every weekday this season. Play of props and best bets each and every day, like I said. Make sure to use that odds finder tool on the lines.com as well. We use that to make sure we're getting the best odds available to you guys from all these books giving us bets this season. Nate, let's go ahead and get into your first pick here for Monday's slate.
Yeah, playing through some COVID here, folks, but still going to bring you the best bets. The mind is still sharp, and I see the writing on the wall here with the Heat +5 at Bucks, considering Jimmy Butler did not play on the second leg of their back-to-back at Minnesota. It's clearly because this is a circled game on the calendar after Dame, sort of spurned them. It wasn't really up to him, but there is some motivation to derive here for the Heat facing this team that honestly hasn't been very good. I mean, the Bucks' half-court offense is one of the worst in the league through 2 games. It's just been a bit of a struggle for them to figure out, Dame and Giannis, that is, how to play together. Giannis has a 103 offensive rating in these 2 games with Dame. He's got 5 turnovers to 3 assists. The team is 25th in assists per game. And Dame coming off, basically the worst performance in recent memory for him against a Hawks team that is not very good defensively. Now he faces Miami. His last 4 against Miami, he's averaging 18.8 points per game on 35% shooting. They know how to contain him to a degree, and I think Jimmy's going to take that assignment personally at times. The Bucks on a back-to-back here, and their defense is already not great. I mean, in fact, it's dead last in opponents' effective field goal percentage through these 2 games. I honestly think they kind of lucked into that win against Philly with Dame just kind of taking over. It was, it looked like a rec league team where it was just like Giannis handing him the ball and being like, okay, you do it. You win the game. There's no semblance of order here, which brings me to like the coaching mismatch. Eric Spoelstra, consensus best coach in the NBA, against a rookie, Adrian Griffin, who, it's not an easy task to integrate these 2 superstars and their varying games. But, I mean, he's a rookie, and right now it looks like it. Like, their half-court offense, again, 97 rating against Philly. It was just a mess for a while in the fourth quarter. And the Heat, back on their lockdown shit, what they do, second fewest free throws allowed, top 10 in fast break points allowed. But they've only played a couple games here and really been preparing for this one. Jimmy, we know what he does against the Bucks, right? I mean, everybody remembers that playoff series where he was just unstoppable. And in 4 regular season meetings, had a 129 offensive rating last year against them. So I think they cover. I think you can sprinkle on the money line here, +172. I honestly, in this back-to-back situation for the Bucks, I would not necessarily expect them to win. So, go ahead and put a half unit on the money line.
Okay. All right. I mean, Nate is the ever Miami believer. We know that. Like, he will never not believe in Miami no matter what. I think the thing that is going for you the most in this bet is the Jimmy Butler motivation, the overall Miami Heat motivation, which obviously takes on the personality of Jimmy, and whatever mood he's in is sort of how the Miami Heat go. And I think you can expect it to be one of those regular season games where they try pretty hard. I did mention to you that they're missing a few guys that I do think are important. I mean, that defense that you mentioned that's right back on its bullshit is like Josh Richardson's a super nice addition to it, and he's not going to play tonight. Caleb Martin obviously still coming off the bench for the most part, and his defense is obviously incredibly solid as well on the wing. He's doubtful tonight, so a couple other guys missing, but Milwaukee doesn't have it together. I think at the end of the day, you put Jimmy, Bam, Tyler Hero, you're going to have Duncan Robinson out there. Kevin Love's still going to get some minutes, and everybody else that at this point, that the few other guys left that have been there since last season. You've still got 5, 6, 7 guys that have been playing with each other, including Lowry, for a few seasons now. I think chemistry is just going to come into play. I took under 55.5 wins over the regular season for the Bucks because while they might end up being one of the best playoff teams once we get to the postseason, I just don't think they're going to be considered a top regular season team to that degree up until they figure it out. And they clearly haven't figured it out. You can say it's a 2-game sample size, but up to this point, even the offense that we saw against Philly, who I think we were all kind of like tarnishing Philly, and then they barely beat them. So it kind of says something about it all. And as I continue to talk about it, I'm buying into your pick more and more with the Heat covering in this game. So I'm with you on that. I'm going to move to a game that I think is still going to be pretty up and down and fun, even though it contains it has one of the slowest teams in it in Chicago. But Chicago's in Indy taking on the Pacers at -3, who we already told you were going to be the most fun league pass team and have not disappointed through their first couple games of the season, scoring like 138 points per game or something at this point. So their total is at 226 in this game, and I'm going to take the over. It's down from 227.5. I think maybe some people bet it down from Chicago playing so slowly, and which I totally get. However, you don't really have a choice against the Pacers. Like, you can try to slow it down, but they're picking the ball up out of the basket and sprinting down the court. So, like, do what you will with that. Indy won 3 of 4 versus Chicago last season. I do like them at -3 if you want that as well. I think the 226 continues to just look better and better and is my preferred bet. So I'm just gonna put a full unit on the over 226. Maybe I'll put a little quarter on the over as well, just like in a little parlay, just to have some fun with it. But for the most part, I think the over comes into play because, like I said, Chicago can try to do what they want to do to slow things down, but the Pacers are going to speed you up. They got more Kobe White out there, which is where they also play faster, does Chicago. But last year, in the 3 games that they played out of 4, went with the 100 pace, all of them exactly 100 pace. And the last game that even did not go over was a huge over. It was played at a 93 pace at the end of the season there in March, but it still went over 125, 122 in that game, comfortably over 226 there. So we're getting a bit of value in it because, like I said, Chicago's playing at the second slowest pace in the league, but it's early in the season when everybody's just sprinting up and down the court somewhat aimlessly at times, and that's why their second slowest pace is still a 97, which would have been good for a top 20 pace last season, not even bottom 10 by the end of last year, with teams slowing down as you get later into the season. So we're still playing at these fast paces. We're going to get the Pacers running at an even extreme pace. And I think you're going to, part of that is, I mean, it's obviously by plan. You look at, I looked at some of the minutes for the Pacers so far, and 0 players are averaging 30 minutes per game. And you have 7 players averaging at least 20 minutes per game, and then a couple other guys are averaging 18 and 16 minutes per game. So it's a deep rotation that Rick Carlisle is going to all the way down to like 9, 10 guys a lot, and that's why they just have so much energy. And it's just the mantra is go, just continue going. So they're going to just do everything in their power to continue to get this game over 226 total. And this early in the season, especially, I don't think there's much Chicago's going to be able to do to slow it down. And they haven't even slowed it down that much when you look at a 97 pace, which is what most teams played in the playoffs last season, for instance.
Yeah, and the Pacers are at home, so they're going to be dictating the style of play to a degree. I'm going to go back to the well with Miles Turner over 7.5 rebounds, which is something I bet when they were playing the Cavs on Saturday. Because, yeah, if you're playing an offense that's not great, when Donovan Mitchell didn't play in that game, Miles Turner should be gobbling up boards. I think the market is a little deflated on him because he was injured so much of last year, but 12 rebounds in that Cavs game. Yeah, despite playing 29 minutes, like you said, I mean, the minutes, it's kind of skewed because their first game was a blowout win, right, Indy? But True. He does have a secure role. And Chicago is dead last in effective field goal percentage, shooting a putrid 46% on effective field goal percentage, which brings me to my second pick here, a money line parlay with the Pacers, the Pelicans, and the Nuggets on the money lines there. That's about plus 250. And I guess Denver is the one on short rest you might be concerned about. at home against Utah. Utah has actually beaten them a lot in the last couple seasons, but not at home last year. Nuggets won both meetings at home with a plus 11 net rating. And it's a situation where, I kind of poo-pooed Josh's at Memphis, Denver to cover at Memphis pick on Friday, because this is what we see from the Nuggets when they go on the road after a win. They might scrape out another win, but they're probably not covering. When they come home on a back-to-back, they've won their last 5 straight up on back-to-backs at home versus losing 5 of their last 6 road to back-to-backs. I mean, they went 44-8 at home last year. Pretty sure that's the best record in the NBA. And they've just come out looking like one of the best defenses in the league immediately, shutting down AD in the second half, shutting down Desmond Bane, and shutting down SGA, who nobody has done. And that got them some extra rest because they were able to blow out OKC on Sunday here. So Lauri Markkanen is up next. Aaron Gordon matches up pretty well on him. I think Denver can get it done, get another win here. Golden State is on a back-to-back at NOLA. This situation arose last year. They rested everybody and lost by 45 points at New Orleans. So, I mean, we don't know who's going to play at this point, but probably not everybody in terms of their vets. They went 2-8 in road back-to-backs last year. So it's just a question of how inflated that spread gets. But, I mean, you should still be able to get plus odds putting all these together. And like Josh outlined, Indy, the best offense in the league thus far. Chicago, one of the worst, shooting 28% from 3. There's just no way they're going to be able to keep pace. But, Indy can get you over on their own in that game if you want to take over 226.
Yeah, it took a 51-point game from Zach LaVine already. So if you had him as your first 50-point game of the season, Mazel Tov. But for them to even get up to some of the points that they have scored, I think it's a simple case of like the Miami Dolphins playing a decent defense, but just an offense that can't hang. You know what I mean? And it's going to be the same concept. At the end of the day, you're going to need to score 120 points to beat this team unless you just play insanely good defense, transition defense, especially, by the way, which would be huge. I don't know that they have that particular skill set in them for this one, especially with the amount that Kobe White keeps playing. We should see a lot of Alex Caruso in this game. I got to imagine. You cannot. He's clearly the best defender for Tyrese, and even there, obviously, he gives up a bunch of height. So it's just an awesome situation for the Pacers, like you said. So yeah, and the other games, I completely agree with. Denver, no qualms. You get them on the money line. That's wonderful. And then this game, the Pellies and the Warriors, which I'll talk about right now because I'm taking the Pellies where you can still get them -3 over Golden State, who's visiting now on a back-to-back. So there's no way. There's just no way that the Warriors are going to be as bad on the road this season as they were last season. You just can't be. That was a total anomaly. That said, they're not going to play anybody. Draymond is still nursing an injury. There's no injury report out for them, but he already missed games because of that this season, and there's just no way you play him on a back-to-back at this point. Chris Paul and Steph and Klay Thompson are all averaging 32-plus minutes per game so far. Now you're on the back-to-back. We know what it is. Like, we just know what happens now. They're going to get at least 2 of those guys, in my opinion, in between Klay, Curry, and Chris Paul onto that injury report before the game starts, and you're not going to see 2 of them. So they lost to New Orleans twice on the road last season in the similar situation. One of them was a back-to-back. They didn't play anybody in either of them. We don't have much to go off of, but I just think -3 before you see a starting lineup that has Moses Moody in it is one that you want to go ahead and get up. Which, by the way, no shade to Moses Moody. He's looked really good as a guy coming off the bench, but this is just going to be a situation where the Pellies come in, get the rest advantage. They have all their guys in, and they can go ahead and be a little bit free with the lineup, but they're still going to have plenty of guys to throw in there that are all going to be better than the guys I think you're going to see for Golden State. It's just kind of how it goes at this point for this Golden State Warriors team at this point. And so on no rest, they were 8-7 against the spread last season with a -3 margin of victory. But that also was in a few games where you saw guys like Jordan Poole come in and just kind of go off. And when they had all their backups in last season, it's not even the same level of offensive capability in terms of that second unit anymore. You don't really have a key scorer at this point. Like I said, Moses Moody, God bless, still not going to be that for them. So with New Orleans, they're going to be what they were when Zion was around last year, and that is a very like a fast-moving, very good, not very great defensive team, but very good defensive team, and could be better rebounding, but they really just pound the offensive boards enough that it's not, they're going to get so many more points on the offensive end from that level of play, that the defensive boards that they've been struggling with a little bit so far don't really hurt them nearly as much. So New Orleans has had the best defense in the league so far, which I think is what you're going to continue to see from them when they have all their guys in, obviously Zion included, which is really interesting because last year they actually had a way better defensive rating with Zion in than when he was out, even though at times people thought he was kind of a liability in one-on-one situations, and definitely boxing out as well, where he didn't do as much of that as he did relying on his hops. But with the health of the team that it is right now, they don't even have Trey Murphy, and they still have a very nice rotation with a couple guys returning as well from injury. I know Alvarado still continues to miss some games, so he'll probably be out in this one, but other than that, he and Trey Murphy, they should be pretty good to go tonight. So with that in mind, the way that they're playing defense, the way that I think they're going to be able to outscore the roster that the Warriors are going to put out there tonight, -3 is probably going to rise as soon as you see the injury report from the Warriors come out. I think it's worth to get ahead of it.
Yeah, it's worth backing New Orleans, which is basically was the best team in the West last year before Zion got injured. And I would say once again, looks like one of the best teams, until we get that Zion injury, which is a matter of time probably.
Knock on wood.
For now, yeah, I will fade Golden State on the road. Take NOLA at home. I mentioned why, especially in this spot, you should feel especially confident about it.
Yeah, for sure. So looking for another great day on the best bets here. 5-1 yesterday, like we said, won 4 units on the night. So look to stay above that here, or not necessarily above that, but right around that. Couldn't even afford one extra loss, but we're not feeling that. So make sure you do note that Nate also threw the Miles Turner over rebounds bet in there. I do like that with him. You get plus money on over 7.5. Just wanted to sort of hammer that one home a little bit more. But we'll be back with our play of props today for you guys. Make sure you check that one out, and then coming back to you the rest of the week as well. So until we see you next, happy betting.